Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube video upload of Tony Gordon.
It's not a video.
It is a video. It's a video because it's YouTube.
Use your imagination. It's
Close
a video
your eyes
in your mind.
and listen to our beautiful voices as we describe the antics of Tony Gordon.
Oh, he got up to some antics, didn't he, did old Tony?
And why are we uploading him this week?
Scottish reasons.
He's a Scot who got he didn't get whacked on the head, did he? He burned himself up in a fire.
He did. Well, Adam Barlow got whacked on the head recently, and as one of the few other main Scottish people
Characters, yeah,
on Coronation Street, we thought it'd be a good idea to be reminded of one other smug Scottish git. He was such a git, that Tony Gordon, wasn't he?
Probably worse than Adam, I think.
Probably.
Fair to say. So enjoy this recording of us talking about
this is from episode 100. You probably see this. It's not a video. The only thing you can see on the screen is what episode it's on. I'm going to say 114. I think it's 114. Whatever. It's from ages ago. So even if you listen to it back then, it'll have been a while since you've heard it. It's great. Here's Tony Gordon stuff. We're going to launch right into his stats. So we talk about old Tony.
He was born in 1971 in the place called Scotland.
The land of Scots.
And he died on the 1st of June 2010 in the land of Eng.
Yes. He had in the world of Under.
That's exactly right.
He had two siblings, Patrick and Sarah Gordon, and he was married twice.
Patrick's not a Scottish name.
Married twice. Lindsay in 1998, and of course he married Carla in 2008. He first appeared on the 16th of September 2007 and died... Well, no, he last appeared on the 9th of June
which is
2010.
Quite a miraculous appearance, isn't it? Must have been corpsing.
Is that wrong? He died on the 1st of June and his last appearance on the 9th of June.
Maybe he was lying on a slab.
Oh, yeah, probably it was that, wasn't it?
He appeared in 285 episodes if you include the bits where he was dead.
Yeah, and he was played by Gray O'Brien. So he was...
That's not Scottish either.
What, Gray?
O'Brien.
O'Brien. He is a fake Scot, isn't it? That's true.
Fake Scot.
He was cast as the latest Corrie heartthrob in August 2007. Is he much of a heartthrob?
I don't think so, no offence. According to a Corrie source, it's a clever stroke to bring in another good-looking guy.
That's great.
He'd been acting in BBC's River City at the time, but ITV poached him, and he said, I'm delighted to be joining...
Scottish accent, Gemma.
No. I'm delighted to be joining the cast of Corrie. Tony is a great character, and I hope I'll be well received by the viewers. Michael, this is a Scottish accent because we're all British, aren't we? In 1971, he was born in Scotland and grew up with his brother Patrick, or Paddy as they used to call him. He didn't feel his father deserved his mother and he left him to die while he suffered a heart attack. And I'm assuming this didn't all happen in 1971.
No dates for this.
What a precocious child he would have been.
Well, if he was a baby, he couldn't really do anything to stop his father dying, could he?
That's true. You shouldn't blame yourself, Tony. It
turns out he was a psycho from a young age. In a way.
Exactly, it's like Amy.
We're watching Bates Motel at the moment, speaking of psychos. It's quite good if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, we should do a podcast on that.
Yeah. 1998, he married Lindsay, but then she went off to have an affair with Patrick. Shucks. If that's not going to turn you psycho, then what will?
2006, he divorced the cow, but by this time, he had his own clothing firm.
Yep, so that's all right.
Now, so he had something else to turn his attention to.
Exactly. 2007 was when he arrived on Coronation Street. He was giving a...
Not very much backstory, I don't think.
No, I don't think we know much about him, or it's not been written down, so I don't know.
I'm going to write my own novel.
He gave a contract to Underworld, but he was more interested in the lovely Carla there. He became unpopular with residents towards... Carla.
Yeah, that was my Scottish accent.
Good. He became unpopular with residents of Coronation Street when he commissioned flats to be built in the area, and that included killing a colony of bats. Do you remember that?
Did this happen? Did he actually do this?
Kill the bats?
So is Victoria Court?
I think he was the one behind Victoria Court. Yeah. And do you remember the bat storyline?
I remember the bat storyline because of Roy.
Yeah, Roy and somebody else were trying to stop him from killing these bats.
Is that when they were sitting and singing Queen, or was that?
No, that was Terry Duckworth.
Of course.
That
was the
strip club that they were going to put there. No, this was just some flats, but didn't he like get Jason to smoke them out or something?
A rare breed of rats. Rare breed of bats that were living there, and they were protected. And Roy discovered them or something, and it was protected. But yeah, he orchestrated their removal.
Yeah, I think this was the start of Roy's bat obsession
yeah.
that isn't actually much of a obsession. They just bring it up once every 6
Really,
months or
Michael,
something.
how much can you work an obsession with bats into Coronation Street before it becomes slightly tedious?
It could become the Weatherfield Batman.
That's true.
Batman had an obsession with bats.
It's me. Why do you want an echo's cave?
I was going to say.
That is what a Corey Batman would sound like.
Yeah. Lindsay showed up as well at the end of that year to warn Carla that Tony was a womanizing control freak. If only she had listened to him. If only.
It would have been a very interesting show if she had listened to him, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
In 2008, they get engaged together.
Hooray.
But she has
Congratulations.
feelings with Liam. But Liam was in a relationship with Maria, so she went with second best.
I didn't like all that stuff with Carla fancying Liam and everything.
No,
I didn't like Liam particularly as a character.
Don't like him either.
No.
I'm glad he died.
He went through a little stage in early 2008 of trying to buy up everything around Underworld. I think he was trying to expand or something. So he tried to buy the cabin, which I think Rita might have agreed to, and also the garage. And he got a henchman to sabotage it when Kevin refused to give it up. So
henchmen.
Evil.
I want some henchmen.
Yeah, see, he had a henchman, but Jim doesn't have henchmen.
I know, he needs to get himself some henchmen, or he's not a real Corey villain.
Yeah. I wonder whether Jim could enlist Clellans to spy on Peter or something.
I don't know.
I don't know where Clellans.
What's his
loyalty
weak point?
Yeah, his son.
He needs to get his henchmen on the outside to threaten his life.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
We also had later on that year the return of Jed Stone in this storyline.
Oh, Jed Stone.
He had been away from Coronation Street for 42 years.
And they decided to bring him back.
Yeah.
Just so that Tony Gordon could threaten him and redevelop his house.
Yeah, because it turned out that Jed Stone was just living around the corner for all this time. And
no one
never
ever
went to the
no one
Rovers.
ever spoke to him.
No.
No, because he went to the Flying Horse.
Yeah.
It caused Jed to have a heart attack, and he told the paramedics he was just about to sign over the house.
Yeah, he told the paramedics that Jed was about to sign over the house to him, so I think he got it in the end. Now, he suspected that Carla was having an affair with Liam later in the year, and he enlisted Rosie Webster to spy on her. Wasn't Rosie like their
Evil?
PA at the
She
the
was.
factory or something?
She was
trying to
wearing
impress
all these
them.
glamorous office wear.
Yeah,
like,
and
booby
Sally didn't
tops.
like it because Rosie was...
She was sucking on
She
her
was the
bio
boss.
far too much.
Yeah. So Rosie filmed Carla and Liam snogging on their phone. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah.
That when she was blackmailing, she could have blackmailed Carla. Tony plans to have Liam killed when he found out.
Any sensible reaction.
He was a jealous chap, wasn't he?
He was a bit. He invites him to be his best man at the wedding to Carla. And then he runs him over during the stag night and steals money from his wallet.
I'm always just going to remember those scary Tony Gordon masks that they wore on the stag night.
They all dress up as him, don't they? And
Yeah.
walk around, and I think quite a few people had those masks for a couple of years afterwards at Halloween's and stuff.
Well, you can
still
get
buy them,
you can
can't
get a lot of Corrie masks. You can get lots of masks. I mean, obviously, we get ones with Princess Diana on or whatever
We all have a Princess Diana mask, don't we? The Queen gives them out.
Yeah.
In penance.
But these Tony Gordon masks, they're really good because they were just so scary looking, weren't they? It was a perfect little costume for the freaky episode where Liam got killed. But actually, 3 deaths were filmed for Liam, I found out. One, this hit and run. There was also filmed Tony pushing Liam from a balcony at Victoria
I'm sure I
Court.
remember seeing these.
I think maybe they put them online or something.
Yeah.
There was also an episode where they went paintballing, and there was also the possibility that Tony was going to shoot Liam with an actual gun. And I think I remember seeing that episode, sort of wondering whether that was what was going to happen.
That would be really awesome, but it'd be a bit more difficult to hide
Yes.
the fact that you had done it.
Exactly.
Can you imagine how excited the forensics team would be with the ballistics and the little rods that they stick out of bullet wounds to work out where the shooter was standing? They would be like, yes, we get to get the little sticks out. We hardly ever get to do gun crime. Love it.
We had a visitor at school today. Forensics.
Was it a police dog?
No, it was forensics, but it wasn't from forensics, and the children had to put
Did you tell that to the children?
They're not real. No, they
Is
had
that what you do when
they had
Father
a
Christmas
safe,
comes
and they
as well?
had some hair, and they had some fingerprints, and they had to work out who was the criminal. It was quite funny.
Was it you?
No, it was a twin. because they had the same DNA, and then they had to look at which the fingerprint to work out which
That's
twin
right.
it was. It's very exciting.
Because although twins have different fingerprints, as we all know, koalas have human fingerprints, so it could have been a koala.
Yes. So it was very exciting for me because it was 45 minutes that I just could sit back and let someone else teach my class today.
So was it from the police?
No, it was just some company that I don't know, the head teacher organised it. I was like,
Are you sure it wasn't just a murder mystery group that came in?
It was that kind of thing, but it encouraged the children to want to be forensic scientists.
Because as we all know, there's a real shortage of forensic scientists.
Yeah, so I wanted them to do some like blood spattering like Dexter.
Yeah. You hold this water balloon full of blood and I'll hit you with a hammer and we'll see where it goes.
They didn't think to do that. I thought that'd be awesome for 10-year-olds. But anyway, we digress. Why do we even talk about this? Oh yeah,
shooting him with a real gun.
Paintballing, which didn't actually happen.
Actually, it was just a boring old hit and run.
It wasn't. It was kind of exciting.
It wasn't as exciting as being shot with a real gun during paintballing.
Because it wasn't like Liam there lying on the ground with Tony saying, "Oh no, Liam." So, but I can't remember whether like he let Liam know before he dies that he was the one behind it. I honestly can't remember whether Liam died just knowing. I do not remember. Anyway, later on that year, Jed returns to Coronation Street.
Well, no, you forget that he then married Carla.
Oh, yeah, he went and married Carla, yeah.
He didn't go to it, he did it.
He did it. He married Carla.
When Tony Gordon decides on a course of action, that is what he does.
Yes.
Yes.
He returns. Jed returned and lodged with Emily before starting to blackmail Tony about all this stuff with the housing. He teamed up with Maria, who by now suspected Tony of having killed Liam.
This is when Maria goes psycho again. Before, recently she went psycho. We were going, I don't know why they're making Maria a psycho.
It's actually been a psycho all along.
She
was a bit of a psycho with the Frank Foster thing as well, wasn't she?
It's all coming back to me now. We haven't done a character profile on Maria.
Yes, we have.
Have we?
We've forgotten all this.
It didn't come out,
I think we have. I can't remember now. I think might have done it earlier on. But anyway, Tony accidentally confessed to Jed about what happened with Liam, so then he strangled him and stuffed his body into an Underworld hamper. Do you remember they were like having an Underworld Christmas party or something, and Jed was unconscious body in there?
When you make a mistake, it's not the mistake itself that undoes you, it's how you deal with it afterwards. And I think he did the perfect thing here.
Stuff him in a hamper.
But make sure he's actually dead. Because what he didn't do was check for a pulse.
I think it was like a Christmas Eve or something around then that happened. It was the Christmas. There was a big Christmas storyline of 2008, and the Jed possibly dead
the old
in this
pensioner in a hamper storyline of Christmas 2008.
What a cliche. Yeah, but he wasn't dead. But I think I did think at the time that he was. He wasn't, but
he wasn't. But he might as well have been because he went to Wigan.
He was scared away back to Wigan. He was so scared of Tony. 2009 was a big year for Tony. So by now, Maria is desperately trying to prove Tony's guilt, especially after he confessed to having killed Jed. But that was just his plan to make her look crazy, because while she was there in the Rovers saying he did it, he killed Jed. You haven't seen him around. Jed walks in. So that kind of blows her theory out of the water.
Blew your mind. Carla starts to have her own suspicions, and eventually he confesses to Liam's murder, and he tries to lock her up in the factory, but she escapes and does the only logical thing, catches a plane to Los Angeles and doesn't tell anybody what happened. Because why would you?
So Carla knew the truth, but by now Maria, because of this ridicule that she had in the Rovers, started to think that maybe she is going crazy and Tony is just a nice bloke after all.
And this is called Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, so she started fancying him or something, didn't she? And I didn't like that storyline.
It was a bit weird.
It was very weird, especially when he because she was pregnant with Liam's son, and she gave birth to him on the beach with Tony there, like, because they were just like walking along the beach together. Tony helps give birth to Liam Jr. And then he proposed to her on the anniversary of Liam's death.
That is really romantic, that is.
I think it might have been at his grave or something.
It's very hard to pull off, though, because you've got to get them to have a boyfriend first that you kill.
Yeah.
Exactly a year before you tend to propose, so it's hard.
Carla came back from LA and Tony sent henchman Jimmy to bump her off. But Jimmy had a change of heart because Carla's so awesome. She knocked him out with a candlestick, and Tony was able to convince her that she'd killed him. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that.
And she was like totally in pieces because she thought she'd killed somebody. But that's exactly
the real Carla wouldn't care. The real Carla would be like, good. Let me just finish him off.
No, the real Carla has got a heart. It's the one that's the front that she puts on for the business that would have.
She's like, this is just business. Bop. What have I done?
Yeah, exactly. Tony suffered a heart attack later on that year, but he was helped out by Roy, to whom, on his supposed deathbed, he confessed about Liam. I can't remember why he did that at the time, whether he actually had a pang of
remorse
exactly about it. So Roy now knew exactly what happened.
The thing is about Tony is that continually, throughout his storyline, he confesses. And in real life, he would have been banged up many times over because he cannot help but tell every single person that he comes across that he murdered somebody. And it's not just the one the odd murder here and there. Every single time he kills anybody, he tells whoever he sees next. And everybody reacts by saying, you really should tell the police.
He wasn't exactly the perfect criminal.
Why don't they just tell the police?
He did have a few good schemes. Well, I think they went there in the end.
What would you do if some kind of creepy, dodgy-looking guy like Tony Gordon on his deathbed said, "Oh, I killed somebody"? Would you just go, "Well, now you're better"?
Well, I think Roy had a bit of a crisis of conscience, and he was like, "Well, he told me that."
He told me in good faith. He thought he was going to die. Now he's alive. What should I do?
Well, I think Roy would rather that Tony did the good thing and was started badgering him to confess. But when he didn't, and Tony ended up getting mad at Roy and Hayley for not leaving him alone. So they then went and reported him to the police. Tony was then let out and followed Roy to the canal one night when he was bat watching. He had a knife in his hand, and Roy thought that he'd hurt Hayley. I think he'd taken this knife and then he'd accidentally cut himself with it, but he was managed to convince Roy that he'd hurt Hayley. Roy attacks Tony and ends up getting pushed into the canal. Again, we get to see another one of Tony's remorseful moments, I guess, because rather than leaving Roy to drown, he drags him out and then he went and handed himself in. Confessed to the right people at last.
At the police station, yes.
Yes.
Now, at his court hearing, he gets told he's going to be kept in custody until his trial. So he asks Carla to visit him, and then he confesses to her that she didn't actually kill Jimmy. And she says, "Oh, I'm never going to forgive you," and sort of leaves.
Yeah, I think at that point, Gray had been written out as Tony. He might have been going off to do panto at that Christmas or something, but I don't think it was always definite that he was going to come back. It was like that they realised that he was such a big character, and they obviously wanted somebody the big May explosive storyline that goes up against the Britain's Got Talent. So they brought him back for that. But before his fate in 2009 was shown, there were 3 video messages for Tony put online where he was confessing everything to Maria, and each one of these videos had viewers speculating about whether he would hand himself in or commit suicide or kill Roy.
She killed Roy.
No.
In 2010, he plans to escape and get revenge on Carla and Roy. So when his cellmate Robbie is released, he spies on him and contacts Tony via a secret mobile phone.
That guy who played Robbie was what's it off of the Vicar of Dibley, wasn't it?
What's it? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He fakes a heart attack after getting into a fight with another prisoner, and then Robbie pulls over the ambulance with a black van and then uses a gun to get Tony out. So it's a bit of a heist.
It was. I was excited. So they go to the street, take Carla and Hayley hostage in the factory, shoots Robbie dead during an argument over money, released Hayley, but set the factory on fire, intending to burn himself and Carla alive. So ultimate psycho.
Cool.
Carla struggled free, shot Tony and escapes, but Tony decided to stay inside and perish. Didn't he kick Carla out, and he was just standing there at Underworld with the flames behind him, and then just walked back in there, and then there was probably a big fireball or something, and that was the end of him. It was a little bit Richard Hillman-esque, and I think if I'm remembering rightly, Tony was the first big villain since Richard Hillman, sort of on the scale of him. There's always
a few murders.
Yeah, but he was the first long-term baddie that they'd had for 5, 6, 7 years.
And I don't mind them having them.
As long as they have
different people don't, do they?
As long as they have different storylines. I mean,
yeah.
As
long as they have affairs and things, it's fine.
Yeah. So he got awarded for his efforts. Did Gray?
But he didn't get a prop like Richard Hillman got.
He doesn't have a prop. He doesn't have his black gloves.
He won the Bad Boy Award at the 2009 All About Soap Awards, which is the one that I would want to get. And Villain of the Year Award.
Boy?
No, the All About Soap Awards. They're especially in 2009, there was hot competition. And Villain of the Year in the 2009
British Soap Awards,
which aren't very good.
And he was
and he was judged Scotland's 11th most eligible man in February 2009 by a Scotland on Sunday panel. And I hope by that they mean the actor.
Yeah, I don't think the actual character.
But I don't know what the other 10 most eligible men in Scotland were that year. Perhaps he was the bigger of the bunch. I don't know.
So this year, going to 2014, Gray is turning his hand to comedy, starring in the theatre production of Peter James's best-selling novel, The Perfect Murder. So I think he's... Murder. I think he's probably got a bit typecast now.
Slightly.
Yeah, well, he said, he talked about this curse of Corrie. When you play a villain on Corrie, that's what happens. People won't employ you because the public will say, what's Tony Gordon doing in that role? So do you think that that's true? Can villains not be recast?
The best way to do it is to not do what most actors do, which is to play yourself. You know? Like, an actor like, say, I know it's a completely different league, but just Dustin Hoffman and Johnny Depp, people like that, they can be a totally different person. When you see Johnny Depp in a role, you don't, like when he's playing, say, Edward Scissorhands, you don't go, oh, that's Jack Sparrow, do you? Because he plays inhabits a completely different, almost a completely different body to the one that he's playing. So, number one, don't use your real voice. Number two, maybe do your hair a bit differently. Maybe put it over one eye, just an idea. Different clothing style. Maybe you should have worn more hoodies and then... You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, Brian Capron, he's never going to be able to shake Richard Hillman, is he?
There's worse things than being typecast as a villain.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to have a job in the Christmas panto, aren't you, for one thing?
When he says it is true, because a lot of other actors and stuff, if they've just been on Corrie before, it's just, you know, you can get any job really. It doesn't really matter. But when you're a villain, it's very difficult for people to take you seriously in any other role. Like, for example, when we saw Viva Forever,
oh yeah,
the guy who played Charlie Stubbs he was a villain in it, but he also had a few musical numbers, which are absolutely hilarious because we were watching Charlie Stubbs, like the notorious like woman beater, dancing and like aping around the stage
in a girdle or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is true. You will get typecast, but this is why you hopefully you're a good enough actor to be able to.
Do you think?
What?
I was just saying. Do you think that Tony's has left much of a legacy on Coronation Street?
I think so.
Do you? I would say not particularly. I mean, it was great when he was on during the time, but I think he's relatively forgettable now. I mean, I know he was brought up a couple of times this year with Hayley sort of thanking Carla for looking after her during the Underworld siege.
That time we were in the siege.
But I mean,
I guess so.
I don't think that Richard Hillman's ever going to be topped.
You can't really remember the fact that the factory's ever burned down, can you?
I mean, there's so much has happened in that place.
To a certain extent, he did a lot more damage on the street than Richard Hillman did, but somehow got away with it scot-free. Scot-free.
Right, see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lewis Archer even might be more iconic than Tony Gordon, because of the actor who played him was famous, and he had such a better exit, but it was such a more low-key exit.
This is the other thing you do, is you go on Corrie when you're already famous, and then you don't get typecast.
Well, yeah, he'd been in this other thing before, but I mean, we hadn't heard of him anyway. But yeah, he was a good villain. I mean,
I really liked him.
Yeah, I did.
I think I preferred him to Richard Hillman, but you're right. Richard Hillman's the one that people talk about.
He's the one that people have got to beat. I mean, it always used to be Alan Bradley was the big villain, but then Richard Hillman came and completely blew him out of the water.
The only reason why Richard Hillman's done that is because he had the catchphrases and the Norman Bates of the briefcase. That's the only reason. Because there's a nice little handy sound bite and a really dramatic scene that sums up in just 1 2-second clip exactly what's going on when you see all those characters together in the car zooming through the air and splashing into the water. You know, even if you've never seen any of the other episodes, you know exactly what's going on in that scene when he's shouting "I love you" and then he's driving them all and they're all like screaming and trying to get out. You know the story instantly without having any other information. You know the story of that scene. Whereas if you were to show somebody Tony Gordon burning himself to death as Carla walks off, what are you supposed to think about that? It's not an easily kind of packageable.
No. I think that the other thing that made Richard Hillman a bit more iconic and a more interesting character is because he sort of was involved in what the big family. I mean, the Platt family were and still are absolutely huge. Whereas Carla, not so big at the time. And she still is kind of a little bit.
Well, see, the Connors are kind of like a little bit of a rash on Coronation Street. Like, they're all over the place. You don't really know which one's which, and they're all kind of slightly related to each other, but there's no real matriarch, is there? Or like
it's not
family.
It's not a family, exactly, and it's all to do with business as well. We've said lots of times before that the business storylines are all a bit yawn. So when this guy comes in and he's a rep and everything, it's just not so exciting.
Well, Richard Hillman was a businessman, wasn't he?
I guess in a different way he was, but he was
so was Lewis Archer.
And he was like preying on Emily as well, so I guess that made us feel like Richard was even worse because he was preying on little old ladies. Well, see, there you go. And he killed Maxine.
Another line. You should have stayed at the party, Maxine. I mean,
that's my classic Richard Hillman line.
Classic lines. I mean, even if you don't say what's your most classic Richard Hillman line, what's your most classic Corrie line? Some people will still come up with those two quotes. What has Tony Gordon got that was quotable? What did he ever say? I don't know.
I don't know. Carla.
It's not really a quote, is it? It's more of an accent that he just did there.
But Richard Hillman is a big act to live up to, and Tony Gordon was still a great villain, and they needed a villain because it had been so long since they'd had one. I prefer Richard Hillman. I prefer Lewis Archer, but he's still a classic Corrie villain, I think.
Yep, the three of them. I'd like to see them do a battle royale.
Yeah.
Why not?
We didn't mention the fact that when they had this siege at Underworld, it was. Do you remember the whole set of episodes was delayed a week because there'd been these Cumbrian shootings at the time, a massacre, and then they thought that out of respect that they should put it back a week. And do you think that that's the right thing to do?
What's the odds of that?
I know. Do you think it's right that soaps get delayed for being close to real life?
I don't know, because I've never been involved in a horrible tragedy like that. It always strikes me as slightly silly and a bit overdramatic when, they cancel programmes that people surely understand are not scheduled out of spite.
No.
For the victims and stuff, but at the same time, if you can avoid hurting somebody,
the people that you're likely to hurt who's already in pain probably aren't watching Coronation Street, though. And if they do, they wouldn't watch it because they knew that this is going to happen. And
I guess it's just to avoid being called insensitive, isn't it? It's to sort of avert the moaning brigade of.
But I mean, the thing is, you got to show it sometime, and if something's delayed by a week, then it's just like, well. Is it any less sensitive because they just showed it a week later?
I don't know.
And then they just have to catch up.
See, I don't understand this, right? Because we're all very PC and tactful and don't show scenes of violence when there's a tragedy because blah, blah, blah. How many times have you sat on a plane and saw somebody is watching a film where there's a plane crash in it?
Exactly.
Why do they have that on a plane?
People don't really mind these things. I guess it probably is the right thing to do, but I mean, it was annoying at the time.
You don't like it because it inconveniences you.
Exactly.